This is Vince Russo's The Brand.
Good morning to you all. Welcome to another edition of AlternaTV. I am your host, Brandon Stransky, for Vince Russo's The Brand, and as you can see, I am incredibly freaking tired, but by the grace of God, I'm here to get this done for you this morning today. Oh crap, my door just opened. I will be right back.
AlternaTV.
Okay, sorry about that. Opening thoughts. Gonna be doing something a little different this week. Gonna be, with everything that's been going on lately, gonna try to be, a little bit more positive. Kind of block out the negatives this week. Gonna be talking, a lot of the usual discussions gonna be gone. Gonna be focused on some different things this week. So, but I will, one thing though, that I will have a Melting Snowflakes segment coming up here in just a second, because there was a quote I came across that was basically exemplifies the reason why I created this segment in the first place. Don't want to let that go to waste. We will be introducing a new segment next week I call Honest Hashtags, where anytime I see, if I'm almost going through Twitter, I'll see like a hashtag that's gonna be created for a reason to try to elicit a certain response from people, but I'll be giving my response, which will be the honest response on how people should be responding to this particular hashtag. So anyway, on to Melting Snowflakes.
Jabron.
From the FBI show, the School of Rifle from Staten Island, New York, covered span everywhere address the poverty of hard drugs and the party of Python got it going on.
Anything goes on the weekend freak show. Get to know all the amazing kids, my pretty asshole. Me, think less of a boy. Just kiss my fucking asshole.
Making his return after a few-week absence, we have our buddy Mr. Heel Manager. Of course, I've decided to go ahead and rename him Kim Jong-White. And when you see this comment of his I'm about to roast him on, you will see why I've decided to rename him that. I actually decided not to copy the exact quote. A paraphrase is all that's really necessary, because this is pretty much what the quote was. I refused to actually say this quote. I was pretty disgusted by it. So anyway, basically what he said was something to the effect of Virginia should be kicked out of the Union for electing a trans legislature, or legislative, or lawmaker for their state. And I'm just sitting here like, and this dude's not joking. This dude's 100% completely serious. And he's making the same mistake. This is worse. This is absolutely worse, because this is blatant. He's blatantly talking about, this is blatant, just bigotry. Of course, that is the one thing that the right does, why I dislike the left more than I do the right. The right's more, they're way open about how the fact that they're bigots. The left likes to lie about it and hide behind a false sense of, act like they give a crap about these people they claim to protect, but I digress. Anyway, yeah, that's just that's just so wrong, so far off base. You're making the same mistake that the left is making of, you're not judging these people based on their merits and what they bring to the table. You only care about what their group is. Who cares about that? What do you bring to the table? That's all I care about. That's all anybody should care about. What do you bring to the table? Everything else should be superficial and non-important. Anyway, As you guys, if you saw my show last week with a tribute to John Dunsworth, who played Mr. Leahy in Trailer Park Boys, they did their own little, the three boys, JP, Rob, and Mike did their own, did theirs, thing. They discussed, what John meant to them and their experiences with him. And they ended that with the release of the first time that they had worked with John Dunsworth, which was a black and white that was never, it never was released. They just shot it. Never. I'm not really sure what they ended up doing with it, but I know it was never released to the public. And they finally did that through SwearNet a couple weeks ago, and it's titled One Last Shot, which kind of was the genesis of the characters of Ricky, Julian, and Mr. Leahy, even though it told a completely different story, but, the elements were very clearly there. You had Rob Wells playing a character named Rob, who was, through the movie, was living in his car and was wanting to move to, which was the shipmobile that Ricky drives in the show, or what ends up becoming the shipmobile, was used in this movie. He's got a plan, and he's basically deciding that he's moving out of town and moving to Vancouver to start growing weed, and wants his best friend, Gary Washington, or GW for short, played by John Paul Tremblay, who is Julian in the series, to go with him, but he's got too much stuff going on. He's got, he's going to school, he works a full-time job, but the big problem that these guys are having is that Rob wants GW to come keep partying with him and hang out with him, but he's, between school and working for his boss, the incredibly cruel and, just slave driver Mr. Leahy, who's also an alcoholic. Of course, he's got to be. He's Mr. Leahy. And then the show is about, it's Rob's last night, so he convinces GW to lie to his boss to go hang out and spend the evening with him and spend one last night together. And spoiler alert, spoiler alert, spoiler alert, skip ahead like maybe 30 seconds if you don't want to catch the spoiler. The movie ends with them both coming out as gay and in love with each other. And GW getting fired, and they run off to Vancouver together. Yeah, it was a definitely much different, but you saw, get to see where the characters kind of originated, where they started to really get their birth and genesis from, and definitely where the traits carried over from that to the Trailer Park Boys. There was definitely some funny scenes in there, but it's just just a little simple story with 3 characters. Nothing really too much out of that. It was good little storytelling.
Vince, let's go.
Jeff, here's why this show sucks off the bat. I didn't even care. Vince McMahon sucks, bro. Do you understand? You shoot an angle, that's the shit. They're pussies, bro.
Bust somebody's ass You just took all this guy's flavor away. He really does suck as a heel. I can't stand this guy.
Oh, yeah, bro, you're bitter. Get your shit together. So freaking illogical. Are you freaking kidding me, bro? And I'll be honest with you.
South Park, I haven't really been talking too much about that lately. The new South Park season has been really good. I've been noticing a lot lately with with a lot of media content that's been around for a long time. Well, except for The Simpsons, of course. Like South Park, Trailer Park Boys. I'll be getting into this in a second with World of Warcraft, is they seem to be doing a lot of going back to basics. Like, they've spent the last few years experimenting with things, trying new things, and it's like, you know what, people talking about, yes, it's good, but we really miss the, the way you used to do things. So it kind of feels like what they're doing now is kind of going back to basics, like the season of South Park, while they do have some stuff that carries over from episode to episode, it hasn't been, you know, serialized like it has been the last few years. And the comedy's been, the writing and comedy's been really, the back to basics feel, it's been really, really enjoyable. But hopefully, you know, they got some more, you know, new ideas up their sleeves. Of course, they always do. They're some of the most creative people in the business right now. And I think a lot of that does have to do with the fact that they only do a 10-episode run, you know, once a year. You know, gives them, you know, keeps them from drying themselves out creatively. And I'm sure some of you guys have probably heard by now the announcement of the new World of Warcraft expansion, Battle for Azeroth, which I honestly am not that... The premise of it I'm not really that thrilled about. You know, faction war again. It's just, that's just been a central theme for just too much and for too long, and it's just too played out in my opinion. But I can see, though, with the way that Legion ends, will end, since they haven't really shown the ending of it yet, that it is kind of they do kind of need to reset things a little bit, because this is the major antagonistic faction that's been around from literally day one for at least 17 years. If you want to go all the way back to the original releases in the mid-90s, you know, this is the main faction that the players have been fighting against finally comes to an end and are defeated. So yeah, I guess I would admit, you know, do agree that a little bit of a reset is necessary, but going right back to the faction conflict as the main story, just to me, just seems just a retread of something we've been there a million times and done that before. You know, it's what it is. But I am excited of the announcement of Warcraft or the Warcraft Classic, where I don't know, I haven't been able to read the details yet. I don't know if they've been released yet, or if I just haven't gotten to them yet. But it sounds like what it is like a return, like going back to the game as it once was, which is another pattern I'm noticing in, like, you know, entertainment markets, is they're going back to archived old content and starting to re-release that to people, because it's, you know, it was good. It was the stuff that drew people to it in the first place. So that way, with, you know, if they release it, it's another monetary source, and it attracts the people that may have left, that, you know, remind those who are still playing why they enjoyed it in the first place. And that's, you know, something I'm enjoying seeing myself. I mean, I'm a big sucker for nostalgia. I mean, after all, you know, when I wrestled, my gimmick was a 90s alternative rocker kid, so. Anyway, that's really about it for this week. Thank you guys for watching. Be sure to follow me on Twitter at bswriter67 and check out all the other great content here at russosbrand.com, as well as from the other great commentators and personalities we have here. And I'll see you guys next week. Have a great weekend. Take it easy.
This is Vince Russo's The Brand.